Hello everyone. We have a game against Kremslu, rated 1019, who opens up with e4 so we can try to get a Pirc on the board. He defends this pawn before we even attack it, and now he brings out his second knight. We can play g6 so we can fianchetto our bishop, and you're going to get bishop c4 a ton. So you're always going to have the center fork trick available at these low ranks, so it's good to remember it. So white is playing principled, doing good stuff, but the bishop is a little weird here because of the center fork trick. So let's just castle, and the next turn if he just castles, okay, I was going to do the center fork trick, but instead he pushes the pawn and attacks our knight. So let's take the pawn, and now he recaptures. So let's take his queen now that they're looking at each other. He retreats the knight to a very awkward square, wasting time. And now our knight's under attack and we should move it. This isn't good because it hangs. This blocks our pieces. This attacks the pawn a second time. He can defend it a second time. I can attack it a third time. Can he defend it a third time? Probably not. Okay, he doesn't defend it. He just targets the knight. So let's take his free pawn that he didn't defend. And now we have a win condition, an extra pawn on the e-file. He takes our piece. We're forced to recapture. He jumps his knight in, double hitting pawns, but only one of them is undefended. I'm just going to move the pawn and kick it. It also blunts the bishop. He forks me. We get out of the way. He takes the bishop. We take back with the rook, and we haven't even moved the bishop, right? So, and it's not on a good diagonal, so we don't mind him spending 10 moves to get his knight on c8. But he doesn't take, he just leaves the knight there, which is awkward. He moves his bishop, which doesn't do anything, so it's a weird move. I don't want to go here and let him ruin our pawn structure for no reason. So I'm instead going to just develop it here. I could swing it to wherever I want. He just castles. Now you can move your knight wherever to improve it. I'll go here just because it hits the bishop, so a little more forcing. I'm still leaving my bishop here. I don't care if he takes it. Okay. He attacks my bishop, so I'm going to intermezzo this trade because it defends, so he can't take. This gives him an isolated pawn on the d-file, and now that my bishop is attacked, I can move it here, solidify it, hit the knight, and almost force this because it's trapped. The knight's trapped otherwise. So now we force him to take our unmoved bishop, and our position looks great. We're up a pawn, and he has weaknesses, so the game is over. He also has trouble with his bishop because of the diagonal. He plays a4, maybe to try to get the rook out this way. But I'm just going to bring one of my pieces in the game with a threat. Makes the most sense. And he defends it. We can double our rooks. We can also just develop this rook by moving the pawn. He tries to stop us from pushing, but this hangs the rook in the corner. And he might resign now. He doesn't, so we'll just recapture free material. And now he resigns one move later. I really needed to get that pawn push in first. We're just going to go to the next one. I'm just going to check. very quickly to see I didn't make any crazy mistakes. I don't know why the engine's so slow. Okay, so what's the best move here? Bishop d7. Oh, they just want me to save the bishop. Who cares? Good enough. Okay. So let's get another game against Cleopatra. Maybe we can get a Ruy Lopez on the board. Will he do it? No, he will not. He goes d6, defending the pawn. Is there a way to transpose? I guess if I give the check and he puts the knight here. Let's give it a shot, just because it's this speed run, even though it's a bad move. We'll try it anyway. This is why it's a bad move. So now we'll just retreat back home, and that was just a poor operation. It's a great example of why you don't just do moves like that. I tried to transpose for you guys so you can get the Ruy Lopez, but didn't work, and now I just made bad moves because of it. But he puts his knight here, and now we'll just take the full center. We wasted time with our bishop, so let's get on with it. He takes. We could take with the queen because he can't harass us as easily anyway. So let's do that, develop a new piece. And even though we're the ones that wasted time with our bishop, we have much better development already. You know, black did not make use of our inaccuracies. So he develops the knight. His position looks very awkward and cramped. So I'm just going to castle and get my king out of the center. And I mean, he has trouble developing, so he makes a one move threat on the queen, which we can move. Ta-da! Now he gets the turn again, and he created this square for our pieces. Okay, he reroutes, he improves the knight, hits the center. I'm going to develop a piece and threaten to ruin his kingside pawns. So I'm developing with purpose, with intent. He ignores me and pushes the pawn. I'm going to intermezzo take the knight to ruin his pawn structure. If he tries to counter intermezzo, I'll take his queen, and then okay. So he does take back, and now his pawns are all messed up. And we can just take this pawn to open up the e-file for our rook towards his king. So he moves his knight. I just want to develop. Let's bring out a knight with a threat. He takes, we take, and by taking with the queen, we have pressure here, but importantly, we get off of the file so he can't queen trade, and we can put a rook here and a rook here, and none of his pieces have moved, only pawns, right? So he lifts the queen, which doesn't do anything and allows us to develop with tempo. And this is deadly because once we give this check, this rook helps control the d7 square. And once we give the check with the bishop, that's a clearance check for our other rook, devastating consequences. He moved his queen, which hangs this pawn and then more things, but let's give this check and prove for free. This rook's coming. I mean, this guy's 1100, but he just got squished like a bug. Let's throw in another free check and just look at our development, right? And he's just trying to hold on for dear life. He's not down any material, not even one pawn. And yet. So we can take this because if his queen takes, he loses the queen. So that's a check. He does take with the queen. We can just take the queen. Okay, now you can do whatever you want because you're up a bunch of material. Let's start with a check. See if it disconnects the king from the defense of the bishop. He'll probably do this, but then again, I get to add pressure to the bishop, which he cannot defend. So a funny looking move, queen d6, which, you know, goes right into the crosshairs, but it's pinned. And he can't put a rook anywhere to defend it. So if he doesn't want to get checkmated, he has to run with his king, and then check, and then run with his king, and then he'll get mated a different way. So he does run with his king. Good find. Now maybe we can include the knight or something. Actually, rook e6. Oh my god. What a move. You can't take because it's pinned and we're coordinating here. That's a crazy move. Wow. I don't think I've ever really seen this type of idea with these doubled pawns and then two heavies. So he's going from a back rank, but I don't care because I found a cool idea. So let's take with the queen, check. Now he has to go back, and when he does, his rook hangs. Rook e6. I like that. I gotta check to see if that was even. So let's take the rook with check. He'll go here. Now we'll give another check, forcing him back. And then we'll go here, which pins the pawn, attacks the rook, and if he tries to defend the rook, that's checkmate. And if he doesn't defend the rook, it's still checkmate. So that was really cool. Let's just get a quick analysis and see. So you should know by now that bringing your bishop here when your opponent can play something like c6 supporting the center, you don't want to do. So don't do it. I did it for you guys, but he didn't take advantage of it. I mean, we just put two pawns in the center. If we go to, where was it? Okay, so over here we're plus 10, which is a crazy evaluation, and you could do whatever you want. If I turn on the engine, okay, oh wow, every move is mate. Mate in 7, mate in 10, or mate in 11. So the knight here, also super clever, is mate in 7. Rook e6 is mate in 10. But still a way cooler move. Okay. So that's just another example of me looking for fancy moves, but everything's winning because you're plus 10 and you're up a queen. So always try to utilize pins, be tactically aware in your games, and you'll win a lot more of them. Good luck in your chess. Submit your rapid games in my Discord, and goodbye.